Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
And good morning. Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Northland Sports Page. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. We always let the good times roll here on the Northland Sports Page. The Minnesota Twins are still in first place, letting the good times roll, kind of.
Sort of, yeah.
But the offense went dormant again last night, and at the times that they make even a whimper, sometimes the home plate umpires make sure that the offense can't do anything anyway. That's getting a little bit old, but again, it's a first-place team. I'm trying to start with positive today. Although watching the Twins for me last night was not a positive experience. You didn't watch the Twins. Let everybody know what you spent your Friday night watching, because I think you and I might be a 20 years later version of the tandem that you took in last night.
Yeah, well,
and you've been talking about it all morning, so we might as well start the show with it.
So Aaron came over last night and he goes, "What should we watch?" And so we got stuck in a 4-hour loop of Beavis and Butthead, from the newest to the oldest.
Say that again, a 4-hour loop.
Rat hole, yep.
And you haven't been able to shake it today because we often use YouTube videos and different music to get ready for the show. And I was in charge of most of the music today. You're going to hear a lot of tribute to the now passed away Tina Turner, another music legend lost this week. So I was focused on that. And I'll give myself a little more credit for staying focused on that, when in the background of my Tina Turner selections, all I heard was, yeah.
That was I don't. If anybody wants to watch one that'll make you laugh, there's the one I played for you, Brian, where the kid on YouTube is opening up a box of skulls, and he says, "Hello, everybody. How are you today? We're gonna," and Beavis says, "I think that if you're going to be on YouTube opening a box of human skulls, you should probably not start with, 'Hey, hello, everybody.' You should be more like the Crypt Keeper and say, 'Hello, everybody.'"
Again, this is an inside look into Dave Cook's Friday night.
Hello, boys and girls.
So I'm very happy to have him on Saturday morning, and I'm hoping I can relocate his thinking a little bit, because we certainly need to relocate a number of things.
Brian.
And if you think about Minnesota pro sports, relocation has at least been a threat or a reality a lot of the time. Now, Game 6 is tonight, Vegas and Dallas, and Dallas was once the Minnesota North Stars. It wasn't terribly long ago that we were certain, at least 99% certain, that the Minnesota Timberwolves would be part of New Orleans. The Twins were going to be contracted at some point. Who knew where they were going?
No, you just said contracted.
Don't tell me there wasn't a time where you figured Rhett McCombs was going to make the San Antonio Vikings out of the Minnesota Vikings, the purple pride of Red McCombs, yes.
You said Rhett.
I did, inadvertently, but, my best buddy's out there. He's probably listening. So.
You said Rhett.
Right.
All right, sorry.
I gotta go with this for 2 hours. I'm now taking applications and calls to co-host the show as well. So
I'm sorry.
218-727-1065. If you're interested on Saturday mornings, I need you available from 10 a.m. to noon.
Yes, relocation. Relocation has been in the news, and we've faced it 100 different times. You remember 2010? It was the Twins were gone, right? The Twins were gone. They were going to be contracted.
Right. Contraction was a threat. I think I was in college. I want to say it was, maybe I was even younger than that. I'm trying to think of, there was a time where before Glenn Taylor came to the rescue, the Timberwolves were gone. It was going to be the New Orleans Timberwolves, and I don't remember the year. The contraction part, I think I was definitely in college.
Yep.
Obviously, the North Stars did leave. Every Minnesota team has had that threat. Again, I can't believe I said Rhett inadvertently instead of Red, but I know for a lot of times we thought this guy's got so much Texas roots to him that the San Antonio Vikings is really going to happen.
It's a done deal. Again, we thought he might stay for a while, but at the end of his ownership, it was just moving. Right. And so, no, I agree. And what with the stuff going on with the Coyotes and the Oakland A's,
right?
Relocations pop to the top.
And that's kind of a segue to my madness today, too. As much as I do need to relocate your thought process off 4 hours of Beavis and Butthead, the relocation part of Arizona and hockey has been in the news, like you said. And Oakland going to Vegas has been in the news. He's doing Beavis and Butthead gyrations as I talk to him. This is super fun, let me tell you. But to be fair, after the show here on this long weekend, and I'm going to take a moment, please realize while you have a long weekend, take a minute just to honor the folks that made the ultimate sacrifice of giving their lives for this country.
Yep.
It's awesome to have the extra day. And again, my apologies to those who may not, if you're working Monday for whatever reason. But those of us who will not be, take a moment to realize why. But you're taking advantage of the extra long weekend to relocate yourself right after the show. You're headed to Arizona. I don't believe you're going to buy the hockey team, correct?
No, I am not. I'll make that official, Brian. I am not going to Arizona to buy the team. I am, however, going to Arizona to check in on the Madre because, with Dad's passing and Memorial Day was a big deal to them.
Right.
That we are, we're going to, well, I say we, it's just me and I, are going to go down and check on to see how things are going. And you know how I love heat. So I can't think of a better duo. Places go.
Dave Cook and hot weather. Name a better duo.
Yeah, I can't think of a much worse place to go than the middle of the desert. But hey, I got to check on the Madre, and I know she has air conditioning, so I may not see the outside except from my Uber window. But it's important that I go.
Absolutely. So safe travels, obviously, today, but you got to hang with me till at least noon before you can focus completely on that. But we talked about the relocation being in the news, and we talked about how Minnesota used to be threatened with it. And we thought, well, what if it was up to us? And I'm not necessarily saying that either one of us want any teams to relocate. I'm pretty comfortable with what cities, what states have their various teams, what have you. But what if it was up to us? So we thought today for an opening topic, and we've got about 20 minutes till we get to check in with CJ Ham. Should be a super fun conversation with the Vikings fullback. I kind of want to ask him that. Do you really consider yourself a fullback? Because the KOC offense doesn't use one, but I'll get to that about 10:30. But before we get to that, we talked about what if we could take one team from the NBA, the NFL, MLB, NHL. We'll take one from each, and we could relocate them. We'll get rid of Team X in City X and put them where we prefer. Mm-hmm. Where do you want to start? We've talked over this earlier in the week.
Yep, let's talk over that one.
So which one do you want to start with? Which league?
Let's do the NHL. Let's get the easy one out of the way. We're going to move Arizona.
Okay.
I would move them to Salt Lake City. They have the NHL rink. They're trying to bring the Olympics back there. It keeps the divisions together. We already have the Jazz. I told you that I think we should call them the industrial metalheads.
Well, I told you they just need to be the musical misnomers.
Yep.
Just have them named after something that has nothing to do with the area.
The Salt Lake City Marilyn Mansons.
Right.
I mean, nothing to do with the area.
Yeah, can't wait for the Minnesota grunge to come to town. Forget Seattle.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think that the NHL should swing at Salt Lake City.
All right, so since we're starting there, this one will be brief because we did it with Dave Hoops last week a little bit. I chose Kansas City during that segment, if you will. I saw that Patrick Mahomes made a push for that to happen as well and apparently upset some political leaders in Arizona. And I thought, well, if you'd get that upset about actually keeping your team in a healthy state, you might be okay versus, oh my gosh, I can't believe somebody else made that comment. So I'll go ahead and move Arizona too. If I wasn't going to take the, in the news already moving team, I probably would have moved somebody like the Ottawa Senators. That's a team that just does nothing for me. Yeah. But I'm not sure that folks up in Canada would be like, hey, we've only got, a half dozen teams or whatever it is. Why do you got to take one of ours? But I would have put it in a different spot in Canada anyway. I still want Quebec to have hockey. My runner-up, my bridesmaid, if you will, bring back the Whale.
I was just going to say.
Bring back the Hartford Whalers. Connecticut is gorgeous. Go ahead and put a pro team there of some kind. I enjoy the state of Connecticut. I've only been through it via train, but it was one of the more picturesque places I've ever been. I don't know if it would take away from Yukon fever there, the fact that they would have a pro sport back in the state, but I'm going to say Quebec just for nostalgia's sake, but just as good would be the Hartford Whalers coming back.
I think you're right about that, Brian. I think that logically the place to go is Houston, right? So, if we're not playing what we would like, I think the logical place is Houston, but I think the most emotional place would be Hartford. Put them back in. Give them we got songs about the Hartford Whalers. I mean,
we still get to see the logo. We still get to see the logo in town all the time. There's Woodland Youth Hockey that uses the Hartford Whalers logo because it's got that nice W.
Yep. I think that makes a lot of sense. I would like Salt Lake City. I think they're going to Houston.
I think you're probably right. I think market size and market support of sports, Houston has probably earned it, although I'll make the same argument for Kansas City. I mean, there's a place that is stuck by the Royals. The Chiefs obviously do very well. They had basketball way back when. Is this time for the NHL to take a shot as well?
There would be no competition except for the college basketball team.
And they've done very well at athletic complexes. If you look at the way Arrowhead and Kauffman has done, they house them very, very well. do you want to switch to baseball? Because, again, they've got a team in the news moving.
Yep.
I'd rather that we don't say, well, I'm going to move Oakland because Major League Baseball is going to. So let's hypothetically say that Oakland has already moved to Vegas. So we'll take that off the table. You see that a lot on Twitter these days. Option X is not available. What do you do here with option Y? So let's take the Oakland A's off the table. They're moving, okay? And thank goodness, because holy cow, are they bad? And there's less people going there than go to Wade Stadium in June these days.
Historically bad.
Right.
If you follow baseball at all and you don't know this, go just look up some comparisons.
I thought I saw a tweet last night that they're off to the worst start in 91 years.
Yeah. The Cleveland Spiders is the last team to be off to the start like they are.
Wow. Yeah. And that says something.
Napoleon LaJoie was their
Nap
manager.
LaJoie dropping here on the Northland Sports page.
Right. How bad
Don't say you don't get a history lesson when the first 10 minutes today have had Beavis, Butthead, and Nap LaJoie. You're welcome.
Yes, outstanding. So baseball is interesting, and I think that frankly the team in Cleveland, besides being up and down. I mean, if you're in Cleveland, you're probably talking about the Twins moving. If you're in Minnesota, maybe you talk about Cleveland moving. And
really?
You know where I'd
See,
move
I don't
them?
move either one of them because I enjoy that rivalry, and I guess when I think of Cleveland, I think of the Major League movie trilogy, if you will, and. To me, Cleveland, whatever you call them, Spiders, Guardians, and that other name that they changed from, whatever we can or can't do in addressing them, I'm keeping them. But go ahead.
How about the White Sox? Because the White Sox don't own the city.
Right. They're the other team in the other area of Chicago.
And I'm going to put them in Havana.
Wow.
I know that there is, a whole lot of politics that goes into that. But, I mean, there needs to be a major league team in the Caribbean. You've seen how... crazy and full the stadiums are and loud and fun, and baseball's their deal. I mean, Puerto Rico is just not big enough, I don't think. But
right.
Havana would be. But there's so much politics in it, I know. But that's where I would try to
Did you ponder Mexico City at all? Because they played that game there earlier.
We're going to talk about them later.
Okay. So I was having a tough time with this because you and I both have an extreme bromance with baseball, and so many teams have been around for so long, and they mean so much to you just because it's part of the tradition. And we talk about purists, and to me, no sport, sorry, Jim Nance and the Masters, to me, no sport resonates with tradition better than baseball.
Agreed.
But I started thinking kind of Janet Jackson style, what have you done for me lately? And I kind of said, tradition be damned. Let me see what this team has done recently. And I thought about, I don't have a whole lot of love for the Pittsburgh Pirates post Barry Bonds ever. But then I look at that city and how well they've supported their sports teams. I'm like, I don't think I'm moving Pittsburgh. And I look at that ballpark and the backdrop there, and that's one that's bucket list for me. I really want to visit that one. I'm not sure what I would do in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for fun. If anybody's got any ideas, I'm open to them, but I don't know if Pittsburgh is screaming vacation destination for me.
Well, if you follow the game followed at all, it doesn't.
I wasn't on Beavis and Butthead, so I missed it. But
correct.
So at any rate, I'm not moving Pittsburgh, although they were the other ones in my head. And I hate myself traditionally for doing this, but I just think of what have you done for me lately? And I'm moving the Cincinnati Reds.
Ooh,
now,
the original team.
Right. Now, I know they play at what was called the Great American Ballpark. And how am I doing this to a great American sport? But I look at the Reds, and yes, I know all about Pete Rose. I know all about Johnny Bench. I know all about the Big Red Machine. I loved that 1990 team with Paul O'Neill, Chris Sable, Barry Larkin, etc.
Johnny Vandermeer.
The Nasty Boys, all of that good stuff. But you look at them recently, and what do you have besides Joey Votto and Marge Schott? And they have nothing to do with each other, obviously. But what have the Cincinnati Reds really been in the news for? Aroldis Chapman was there for a while. That was cool. I'm sorry, Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's starting to own your town, so let's just let him. I'm moving the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm putting baseball back in Montreal.
That is so interesting. So you're taking the original team, the 1890 whatever Cincinnati Red Sox,
right,
and you're moving them to a town that deserves baseball,
yes,
and really did a nice job of producing talent.
How many studs were Expos at some point?
Drew. I mean, you're sending them back to a community that didn't draw well enough to keep a team, and you're sending the the OG team.
Yes,
oof, that'd be like moving to Chicago Bears.
Nothing ever said I would be popular with my decisions
right.
here. Be thankful that I'm not the commissioner of any sport. I'm just looking at teams going, they haven't been a factor in any of my discussions about said sport in how long.
Yeah.
And for some reason,
you're right.
I'm picking on Cincinnati. And when we go to the NFL, I'm picking on another Midwestern city,
then
by
let's
the way.
move the Rockies.
Okay.
Because the Rockies would make sense too, because I don't see an out for them.
See, but here's my out for them. I'll give you one, and you can tell me if there's any merit to it or not, because there may not be. My out to keep the Rockies would be the same reason that I would bring baseball to Mexico City, perhaps. We saw the one game that was played in Mexico City. It was like slow pitch softball. How many balls left the yard? Now, it got a little eye-rolly because the score could have been 16-11 in the fourth inning.
Yep.
But Coors fascinates me with what it does for offenses.
But they've dampened the ball so much there that it's not
Have
the
they, though?
same. Yeah, it's not the same as it used to be. You're looking at guys that leave Colorado and their numbers don't change anymore.
But you talk about communities that draw and support. Denver does a great job with every single team they've got.
Yep, except maybe that one because they've done nothing since Troy Tulowitzki.
Because they're 4th out of 4.
Yeah, they're Troy Tulowitzki's, and for those who haven't followed baseball well enough, he was a really good shortstop a decade ago.
Well, and you'll still see Tulowitzki jerseys on Blue Jays fans at Target Field this weekend because Tulo bounced around after being the thing in Colorado.
Yep.
So the Rockies are an interesting choice too. This would be a fun Twitter poll to do in each of the 4 sports if we can come up with 4 teams. Maybe we'll do that later on our Twitter account. Time will tell. So we've knocked out the 2 that have been in the news. We knocked out the NHL. We knocked out Major League Baseball.
Right.
Obviously means NFL and NBA are left. We're willy-nilly relocating teams on the Northland Sports page this morning. Dave's relocating to Arizona for a few days after the show. I'm relocating to hoops. I do that after the show quite a bit. Got to give love to one of our sponsors. We'll talk to him a little bit later on. But we've got some relocating to do still in the NBA and the NFL. You're guiding us, Will Steger. Where do you want to go?
I think I'm going to NBA, and I'm going to try something because I'm not exactly sure where we'd put them, right? But I'm going to take the Miami Heat out of Miami because I don't like Jimmy, and I want him to have to move. And I'm going to put him in the Northeast corridor someplace, and I'm going to put another team in that division. So I'm not sure exact. Maybe it's Pittsburgh, right? Maybe that's where you drop another NBA
sport
team.
where Kansas City could be involved.
Absolutely. Well, but they're going to be like, if you told me we were going to move hockey to Atlanta, I was going to say, okay, been there, done that.
Yeah.
But if we put another NBA team in that Northeast corridor, so they have, again, this 5-team, nobody has to fly anywhere, drive a bus, and have their one conference. So I think that would be kind of fun in Eastern Conference where Boston just they can all drive to their next game and the 2 teams in New York. I mean, I think you drop another team in there and I get to move Jimmy out of Miami.
So where's your final destination for the Heat?
I think you move him to Pittsburgh because that's the only team I can think of, but maybe it's Hartford. Maybe we put them there too.
Can we have some fun with this though? Because we talked about, why is Utah called the Jazz? Because it makes no sense. Can we please keep the Heat nickname for Pittsburgh? Because those don't coincide at all.
Maybe it's Columbus. Maybe we move them to Columbus, Ohio then.
The Columbus Heat.
The Columbus Heat.
The Ohio Players. There you go.
Oh, very nice.
Didn't they have a song called Fire? It was a perfect theme song for you.
So there you go.
There you go. So I'm doing very poorly at this topic, even though I came up with it and I think it's fun. I'm doing poorly because I have yet to have a completely original thought. And what I mean by that is not that I got the idea from someone else, but everybody that I'm relocating, I'm putting them in a spot that used to have a team anyway.
Oh, I know where you're going.
Because I've done this already. I noticed I put baseball in Montreal. It used to be there. Notice my hockey nominees were Quebec and Hartford. Hockey obviously used to be there. Basketball, NBA, cue the Elvis music. I'm doing return to sender. Kevin Durant's bounced around the league, right? It's hard to believe that the original Kevin Durant photo you could see is Kevin Durant in a Seattle Sonics uniform before Seattle became Oklahoma City. Now, I realize that the Thunder are unique because it's Oklahoma City and that's the one professional sport that they have in said city. But I have no need for them. Other than the fact that I can be very thankful that that's who the Timberwolves played in that final play-in game that got them into the postseason for a blink. I think we all knew, as bad as Minnesota sports can be, that the Timberwolves were probably going to handle that team. And they did. I have no need for the Oklahoma City Thunder. I 100% think that Seattle needs basketball. Return to sender. Put the Thunder back in Seattle.
Here's a question for you. Rest of the country, how soon do they move the Timberwolves?
I was going to say, the rest of the country is 100% voting for us.
Yep, and the only reason move us to Montreal
or wherever they could put us in Siberia because that's what they think it is already.
Yeah.
The only reason that the Timberwolves aren't the nominee here is because we're a Minnesota show.
Yeah.
Because we even said this when we were kicking it around earlier this week. I said, NBA wise, if the league looked at it and said, what franchise do we have that we don't really need? I got to think. As much as I love the sport and I think Minneapolis Metro, we've talked about it. I think there's a passion for basketball there too. How is it not the Timberwolves?
Yeah.
Yes, they've recovered with being a postseason team for a couple of years. But when you think of what basketball franchise has truly been an abyss, how is it not us with a complete bullet?
It's us or Sacramento, right?
Yeah.
So the NFL's the big one, though. I mean, who are we moving? Where are we sending them?
Well, this is where I become a clown show because it's a very original thought, and I don't think it can actually happen. So I'm just playing, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I'm going to make believe. So I'll let you go first because yours is probably more serious.
I have 2 teams that I'd move, and I'm tossed, right? So I would either move Jacksonville,
Okay.
or I'd move Nashville.
The Tennessee Titans. Okay.
And I would put them in Mexico City. That's where I'd bring the NFL because it's the biggest market that's not tapped in the world, right? And people say, well, there's just not any money there. There's enough money to fill 100,000 seat, right? There's 10 million people in Mexico City. And so that's where I'd go. There's already passion for the NFL. It's growing in that market, and I'd put it there. You don't have to worry about travel time. It's simple, right? That's where I'd go.
See, now I agree with you. I think it makes a ton of sense, and there's been so many hypothetical moves in the news in the NFL over the years. We started even going way back to the late 90s with Red McCombs and us with San Antonio. The Bills were playing in Toronto enough times that we thought that's going to happen, but we can't imagine Bills Mafia and that fan base and that passion losing their team.
Now, back then we could.
Right, but where I'm going with that is I think that's why I don't move Jacksonville. I think it's finally starting to turn. Now, granted, they made a cameo in the playoffs last year, and, it was fun and Duval and all that good stuff, but the fans are into it. I think that community is going to grow again. And you look at Jacksonville's brief stint, relatively speaking, in the NFL, and they've actually been pretty good.
They've had runs.
But they don't have any middle ground. They are either magnificent or, oh my gosh, how are they an NFL franchise?
Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yeah, we're talking
team.
13 wins or 3. There is nothing in between.
Yep.
So I hummed and hawed over that one too, but I didn't move Jacksonville. I went back.
Their owner wants to move Jackson.
I know. It's kind of sad, really. I went again, kind of the same rationale I did for baseball. I just didn't say the fans don't care, the owner doesn't care. I said, who's done what for me lately? And this is another team that you go, wow, historically they've done plenty. I can't believe you're uprooting this. I'm moving the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh, you are?
I am. Because post Peyton Manning, I realized Andrew Luck was a thing. But for me, it's just kind of one of those forgotten teams.
Yeah.
If not for the historic comeback in the regular season last year by the Vikes against them, I think you forget that Indy's really there.
Yeah.
Now, the Manning era with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, etc., that was magnificent without question. I remember cheering for the Colts when Jim Harbaugh almost beat Neil O'Donnell and talk about what are these quarterbacks doing here matchup. But other than the combine, do you really think of Indy as a football hotbed? I just don't.
No, you still think Indy is a basketball town, don't you?
Right.
What about Detroit then? You could make the same, almost exactly the same arguments about Detroit.
Oh, you absolutely could. But I steered clear of my own division because they're always a talker for me.
Yeah, that's true.
Being in Minnesota, I mean, you mentioned it with Cleveland, the White Sox, etc., and I just kind of went, nah, I'm not doing that because we always talk about the geographic nearby opponents, but also in the standings, we're worried about what they're doing. When's the last time you worried about the Indianapolis Colts? I remember hoping that they'd beat New Orleans in the Super Bowl because of the way that New Orleans beat the Vikings to get to said Super Bowl.
So here's a question for you then. Because it's happened before.
But I haven't said where I'm moving them yet, but go ahead.
No, okay, this is great then. Timing is good. Because this has happened before, this team does not get to take the Colt moniker with them, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I am moving them, and this cannot happen. There's no logic to this. People could tell me 18 million reasons why it wouldn't work. I am taking this team, and I'm putting them in Honolulu. They can share a field at the University of Hawaii.
Have you seen the field? It's trash.
I've seen it many times, but I love the area, and I'll just be their broadcaster, and that's part of why I'm doing this too. But at the same time, this would never work because the travel for the teams going out there would be absurd. The travel for a Honolulu-based team to play a road game would be absurd every week. So this cannot happen. I realize that this is Brian Prudhomme becoming Fred Rogers and going to the land of make-believe. But
it's just London West, right? Same issue London does.
That's my logic, though. That's how I legitimize this. The NFL tries so hard to ship so many teams to London, to Munich, wherever. We're playing in Europe every week and just shrugging our shoulders going, well, that's how we do this. It's tons of travel, but you'll make do. If we're doing that with different teams every week, why can't you base a team somewhere? There's got to be talk at some point of basing a team across the pond, if you will. So rather than do that, I would just put a team where the Pro Bowl used to be. The Pro Bowl is a farce. So let's make an NFL franchise and try to save Hawaii.
Does it surprise you at all that the NFL doesn't look at CFL attendance and say, you know what, we can put a team in whatever town is the one that supports the CFL the best?
Right.
Like, I don't know if the Alouettes get a ton of coverage or either of the Rough Rider. Maybe that's the one. You got to take one of the two Rough Rider teams out because they got two teams with the same name in the same league.
Maybe that's why Buffalo never did quite finish going to Toronto.
Yeah.
Because it could have happened, and I think we thought should have for a long time. And now, like you said, emphasis on the present, it's laughable to think the Buffalo Bills would go anywhere.
But how about giving them a rival 150 feet away?
Right.
That would be fun.
It would be interesting. So, again, in the news, Arizona NHL is moving.
See ya.
Oakland MLB
Done.
is moving. So let's take the other two leagues in our final 3 minutes before we give CJ Ham a call today. Who are the two teams, one in each, that you really think has a realistic shot to be vacating where they are now?
Well, I think the answer is Jacksonville in one because Khan has wanted to move them to London.
Yep.
But listening to your logic, Indy's not a terrible one as long as they can, as long as they have to leave. And of course, it's not going to happen because of the market size, but DC can. I mean, that's just kind of FUBAR, right?
It's funny because I thought about DC really in all four leagues, but then I thought about, wait a minute, it's an area that has all four teams, so obviously they do enough to have each and every one. How could I move them? But when I use my logic of what teams don't wow me at all, how do the Commanders, the Wizards, the Nationals, etc., the Capitals obviously won not long ago, and Ovi's a big deal. But how do any of those four teams wow me? The Capitals are really the only one that's close.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And the South divisions on both sides. Like, if we move the Atlanta team, do you think anybody'd really miss except the people in Atlanta?
Right.
And
I always think, you talked about the South division, that resonates Carolina for me.
Yep.
I don't necessarily think football matters there, but for some reason, I wouldn't mind seeing Major League Baseball in Charlotte. Makes sense to me.
No, I agree with that. And yeah, if you're looking at, the NBA and who legitimately could move, it would be, like it or not, the team that makes the most sense is ours.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want that to happen.
I was going to say it makes the most sense because of the struggles that it's had. That arena been through renovations. It's still not exactly a palace of any kind. And as much as I think it puts them on the map, having somebody like Alex Rodriguez in their ownership group still scares me to death because Alex Rodriguez in Seattle have a marriage. The NBA needs to be there at some point. What happens if we're the logical candidate? Now, there are plenty of hockey snobs in this town that won't miss the Wolves at all. I definitely would.
I would too. I just, especially now we have a young talent who, the sky's the limit, right?
Right.
It would be hard to see that person move. But like Durant moved from Seattle, it would be the same thing.
Absolutely. So when teams move, you often wonder, is there any love lost or was there not enough love at all? What's love got to do with it? Our first tribute to now the late, great Tina Turner. We'll be right back on the Northland Sports page. We'll relocate to talking to CJ Ham. He's gone from Duluth to Sioux Falls to US Bank Stadium on the regular. The Viking joins us next. Stick around.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players. Pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.
I'll be right back. I could let that song go for quite a while. Our tribute to the late, great Tina Turner continues. Proud Mary. We are very proud to be back with you on the Northland Sports page. We're here each and every Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook. Dave Cook, we've got a return guest with us and one of our favorites because we get a lot of players past. If you talk about any sport, we get a lot of those guests to join the show. We don't always get the current athlete to join the show. Not only did we get a current athlete, but maybe Duluth's most finest commodity.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, Brian, when I was announcing our all-star basketball game, and this is probably the best three-point shooter that I've seen in an all-star basketball game, but that no longer is his claim to fame.
Not necessarily his forte, but it certainly was back in the day because
He was good, Brian.
I too, as a basketball PA announcer for Duluth East, remember CJ Ham. It was Cortez Ham then on the floor for Denfeld. But now it's Vikings fullback CJ Ham. And CJ, we're so happy to have you this morning. Good morning, sir. Thank you for joining us.
You guys are too nice. You guys are talking way too nice about me. I appreciate it.
Hey, your basketball prowess is underrated. One thing that'll
Agreed.
never be mistaken, though, is your blocking ability, your fullback ability. still able to carry the ball as well. I want to start with that. What's it been like in the KOC offense versus when you first came into the league and first established yourself with the Vikings? What does Kevin O'Connell bring wrinkle-wise to the offense specifically for you?
Yeah, I mean, KO is he's open to everything. That was something, when the Vikings hired him, LA did not use a fullback. So for them to be able to look at the tape and say we want this type of player still on our team, all those snap counts may have went down, but then I signed an extension, so it just continues to show that they see value in what I do and what I can bring to the table, and I'm just happy to be on the team and just continue to help.
CJ, I was doing a little bit of OTA following last week, and the common theme was, holy cow, Flores' defense is insane right away. Seeing last year's defense and, frankly, seeing Zimmer's defense from a fullback's point of view in the backfield, what's the differences we're going to get to see with Flores' defense?
It's still really early, but just, I can validate some of the things that are being said. Those guys they're flying around. They're giving us a lot of different looks, and I think that's going to be really good for our offense and really good for our team as well.
I think it could be as well. CJ, I want to talk about one other thing that made news NFL-wise in recent days, not just the OTAs, but the kickoff rule. Now, you've had a good special teams impact in your career as well. What's your thought on this new look kickoff? Because it kind of eliminates, at least on the surface, the look of some of the special teams play.
Yeah, it's a good question. I believe college has this rule, correct? Where
yes.
You can catch the ball wherever. Yeah, so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. They're always trying to make the game safer and do things like that, but we'll have to see how this year goes and how it truly impacts the game. We can sit here and say it's going to do this and do that, but we don't know until we actually do it. So just ready to see how it impacts, and no matter what, we got to go out there and do our job. So can't look into it too much. Just got to go out there and play.
That's true. You leave the looking into it way too much to the media types like us. We are talking to Duluth's CJ Ham, Minnesota Vikings CJ Ham, but I want to bring you back to Duluth because you are going to be bringing your talent and your community love back to Duluth. You got a camp coming up this summer for folks up here to take part in. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always something that we've always just loved to do. It was always something from when I first came into the league to just be able to bring a camp back to the community that I love so much. So July 8th, we are planning to do our fourth annual CJ Ham Youth Camp. Super excited about it. Looking forward to it, and it's always just to introduce football to anybody and everybody, no matter what skill level you are. No matter if you've been playing your whole life or it's the first time you're interacting with the football, it's for everybody to come out and have fun, learn fundamentals, and just learn about the game that has taught me so much.
I love that you focus on that. The skill level doesn't necessarily matter. Fundamentals do. What's the first thing if somebody's listening going, I idolize CJ Ham, but I've never touched a football in my life, but I'm a young kid and I want to try it. What's the first thing you want to teach somebody that may be a complete novice to the sport?
Yeah, really that they can do anything that they put their mind to, and I think football teaches you that, even if you're not the greatest player, you're not the star player, just the game of football itself, the team aspect of it, it just taught me so much in life. And no matter if you're trying to go play college football or this is the only football you're ever gonna touch, you're just gonna learn about just community and working hard and working for the person next to you. Which really just applies to everything in life.
Brian, one of the things that my family is really proud of is that we have the scholarship at Central Lakes College for the heavy equipment because of my grandfather, right?
Right.
And when you get those letters from kids who have won it, and it's really, makes you think what you're doing as well. And I know somebody who has recently won a scholarship CJ is connected with.
Yeah, I do. That's an outstanding segue as we continue to run the smorgasbord of topics that CJ Ham is tremendous for up in our area. I want to talk about the Ham Family Scholarship because, yes, I do know this year's winner quite well, Rachel Hagen, who will be on actually following you on today's show here, CJ. And, she's so excited to have won it. The family reached out to me right away. I've been very fortunate. Just as I said, I used to public address announce against you when I was at Duluth East. I've continued to be the announcer at East and got, 4 great years worth of Rachel Hagen basketball. But first of all, before we get to Rachel and how she was selected and the connection that your family felt, talk to us about how this Ham Family Scholarship came to be, because it's awfully exciting for kids up here to have that opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. It was in the works for quite some time. As we continue to do these camps, we always donate all the proceeds. We don't make anything off this camp. We're trying to give back to the community, and it's awesome that our camps sell out, because that means that the people of the community want to go to the camp, but they're also willing to buy into the Duluth community and and what we're passionate about. And it was soon after the George Floyd murder. It was just, we were hurting. I was hurting. My wife was hurting. The world was hurting. There's a lot of things going up and down, and we wanted to be able to do something. We obviously can't fix any situations, but we knew we had the power to do something ourselves, and we came up with this Ham Family Scholarship to really impact the Duluth community, but specifically students of color, giving them an opportunity to apply for something like this and earn this outside scholarship, and hopefully just encourage people like myself that grew up in Duluth, encourage people like me to further my education. And I know there was the Boys and Girls Club gave me an outside scholarship going into college, and it helped me tremendously. So why not us be able to do something like that for the Duluth community as well?
No question about that. It is a tremendous gift that your family bestows upon a student in the Duluth area. Again, Rachel Hagen, this year's winner. We're going to hear from her in about 10 minutes. Talk to me a little bit about that, because every scholarship, I always hear about, man, we had so many tremendous applicants, candidates, whatever word you want to use. That decision is not easy, but once you've made it, you always feel good about it. What was it like to kind of go through and hear Rachel's story and obviously, warm up to it, because we all have?
Yeah, it was awesome. This scholarship is presented by Essential Health. The foundation has done an unbelievable job of helping us be able to, kind of just build the criteria. They got to know my wife and I, Stephanie, to really, know our character and what we value. And, I think they did a tremendous job of picking Rachel. Someone who just shows extreme character, determination, wants to further herself in her education, but also just as a person, enduring, injuries. And as an athlete, myself and my wife can just empathize with that, because injuries can really just take us out. And for her to go through those injuries and continue to push forward and now going to play college basketball, it's just amazing. And, I think it's awesome that she got it, and she's the first one to receive this scholarship, and truly set the foundation of the what type of person what type of person this is that receives something like this.
I couldn't agree with you more. Perseverance is absolutely a defining word when it comes to Rachel Hagen. Now, one thing, CJ, that I don't do too often on this radio show is I don't do repeat questions, as in asking the same question to multiple guests. But I'm going to do it today because I want each of your perspectives. And again, Rachel's going to follow you. What was that Zoom call like? Because you know that you get to bestow some great news on a young kid. And I'm obviously going to ask Rachel, what's it like to be 18 years old? She turned 18 on Thursday. And oh, by the way, you're getting a Zoom call from an NFL player. What was it like to break the news to that first ever winner? Because that had to be a really fun moment for everybody.
It was really special. My wife was really, really excited about it, and couldn't stop talking about it before we got on the call too. It was super exciting just to see her. She's got a great smile, great energy about her, and like you said, to be able to give good news to somebody is always the greatest, right? It helps us feel good, but also knowing that it can impact their life in a special way means the most to us, and that's all we want to do, is just continue to impact as many people's lives as we can. And we're just so happy Rachel was able to, be on the other side of that call, and we got to meet her mom as well. She was hiding in the background.
Oh yeah.
My wife had asked, like, is anybody else there? And then Rachel's mom popped out, and we got to talk to her for a little bit too, just to see the excitement on the family's face, and just be a part of that was pretty special.
No question. You said that Rachel's mom was hiding in the background. Wait till you get to know Laverne a little bit better. Hiding in the background is not a phrase I would ever use to describe Laverne Hagen. She is one in a million and one of my very best friends. Very happy for the entire family. CJ, I want to talk about, obviously, Rachel's the first ever winner. We're going to hear from her in just over 5 minutes, and it's going to be fun to get her perspective on this too. But there are going to be future winners, obviously. How do people get involved in getting to be a nominee, if you will, or an applicant for said scholarship? Because this is hopefully going to have a huge legacy for years down the road.
Yeah, like you said, this is something that we plan to do for forever. To have students each and every year, and hopefully it grows. It grows even more. The amounts get bigger. The students, the amount of students who can win it get bigger. That's our dream for it. And it's as simple as going to the foundation and just applying for it. And obviously we have a criteria just as any scholarship, but going out there and applying for it and going through that process. But we want as many people to apply as possible. This is truly something that we're super passionate about, and just thankful that we are able to do this for the community that has done so much for me.
Your community outreach and giving back is tremendous. I want to go back to football for just a moment because, again, OTAs are a big part of this part of the calendar year. We talked about with Rachel Hagen, avoiding or overcoming injuries has been a big part of the story. Obviously, you want to stay healthy this time of year and well into the season as well. What kind of pacing yourself? What kind of fitness levels? Where are you at in terms of the, quote, off-season right now? Although with OTAs, how much of an off-season really is left?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. Going into year 8 with the Vikings, 7 on the active roster. I'm deemed one of the old guys on the team, right? And
hard to imagine that, right?
All the time. Hard to imagine. It feels like it was just yesterday. I was still a tryout guy, but God has been faithful, and that's awesome. Like I said, I feel great. I'm training hard, and we're just going through it. We're practicing. We're working together as a team. And the coaches do an unbelievable job of, making sure they're putting us in the best positions to get great work in, but also be safe and make sure all of us make it to the beginning of the season.
I'm glad you mentioned, and obviously you're never going to forget the time where you really had to grind to get your spot on this team. It doesn't seem like that long ago that you were, quote, a tryout guy. Now, you're a Duluth native. I know you were an Augustana Viking before being a Minnesota Viking, but there are some folks with Duluth collegiate lineage. There's a UMD Bulldog making a name for himself with the Vikings for now. How much advice are you giving to those type of players because they've got the grind to get that NFL spot?
Yeah, I'm giving them all the advice. I know. So Zach is with us.
Right.
And I know there's another UMD player who signed with the Jets. Correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, but I told Zach from the get-go, I've always had, another fullback there with me, and we're going to make each other better. And I'm here for him. I will do all I can to make sure that he's being the best that he can. He's going to push me to be the best that I can. So I love having another fullback there. It's somebody that I can talk to, obviously, and we can talk about things. But I love competition, but I also love teaching and giving back. And obviously in this world we live in, that's a little different to say, like, if you're in competition with somebody, to giving them advice. But I embrace that and I love it. And all the guys that have been with me, I have great relationships still to this day.
That's an amazing perspective. You gave me an accidental segue, so I've got to ask, and this is a little bit tongue-in-cheek. You mentioned competition. You mentioned the Jets. Are you not going to miss Aaron Rodgers being in this division and having to see him twice?
Oh, I mean, like I said, I love competition, but I'm definitely not going to miss him. I'm not going to miss him. I wish him the best. I wish him the best.
I agree. Go ahead and light it up with the Jets, right?
Go ahead and light it up.
No question about it. I couldn't agree with you more. Last question is just, again, kind of a how can we do this? We talked about, if somebody's interested in maybe pursuing that scholarship down the road, we already covered that. We also covered the camp. If there are young listeners out there or parents of young listeners out there going, I want to send my kid to the CJ Ham camp, how can they do that?
So you can go to our Eventbrite page. Unfortunately, I think our camp is already sold out. But yes, you can go to our Eventbrite page. There's a link in my bio that has all the specifics on that, and I can get that link to you guys to push out as well. But you just go to the page, sign up for the camp, and get your T-shirt and all that stuff, and be there on July 8th.
Love that idea. We may have to find a way to do a show out there, maybe the Saturday of a camp. We should send the Northland Sports page on the road if CJ and company will have us. I'm sure our buddy Eric Lofald will be out there as well. Coming off of 13 wins, CJ, you've always had a great attitude. Eric shares a great attitude as he continues to uplift the Denfeld Hunters program. What's the attitude of this team? Because the phrase unfinished business is used way too often. But again, 13 wins, but sans a playoff win last year. This team has high expectations. What are the attitudes like right now?
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly it. We do have high expectations, but we got to go out there and earn it again. So, we're not leaning on what we did last year, having 13 wins. We know every year is different, right? And, last year it took 13 wins. Maybe this upcoming year it takes more, it takes less. You just don't know. But we got to go out there and just continue to be better, continue to, step away from the competition, keep winning these close games, be dominant, and obviously play our best when our best is required. If you make it to the dance, when you make it to the dance, to win those big games, and just to continue building on what we've already started. And our coaches have been doing an unbelievable job of, helping us hit the ground running. And it's been awesome, and I can't wait to see, what this team does.
I absolutely love that perspective. Yep. CJ Ham, to say that we enjoyed this conversation is a wild, wild understatement. This was outstanding. We're bumping out. Our tribute to Tina Turner continues. We're bumping out with our cover of Legs, courtesy of Tina Turner. Keep those legs moving for us. Have a great season with the Vikings. Let's please talk again. This was a joy for both of us.
Have a good one.
Thanks, CJ.
All right, that is CJ Ham, Duluth Denfeld's own, and then he became a Viking pretty much for life. Augustana to Minnesota, always a Viking. CJ Ham Family Scholarship, the winner, Rachel Hagen, is right around the corner. Northland Sports Page continues. Stick around. We'll be right.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Right back. And we are back on the Northland Sports Page. Brian Prudhomme, Dave Cook just wrapped up a tremendous conversation with CJ Ham, talking about the Ham Family Scholarship. We've got the winner of that scholarship right around the corner. Of course, Dave Cook, we can't talk to anybody without our great sponsors each and every week.
Absolutely. We talk about Arola Architecture Studio, Hoops Brewing, OAR Holdings, Justin May at Messina & Associates, Kraus Heating and Cooling, Advantage Emblem, the Blackwoods Group, Avenue 45, Mount Royal Bottle Shop, Stewart's Bike Sports and Trophies, Famous Dave's, Kohler Toyota, Kohler Hyundai, and Sammy's Pizza. Brian, I had some friends up this weekend. And they were like, we want to try Duluth like Americana, right? They wanted to
Sammy's would be a headliner there.
Sammy's is the headliner,
right?
I mean, it was
folks
like,
on the range would like a word, but
yeah. What do you want to eat? Well, how about pizza? Okay, I go to a different place because of celiac, right? And that other place is kind of my go-to. So that's the one that always starts. But if I'm not going, right, go check out.
Yeah, if we can take a fun trip and leave you at home,
yes,
we're going to Sammy's.
Yeah.
But the best part about all those sponsors is that the list keeps growing and it goes on and on and on. That's great for our show. Sounded like in talking to CJ Ham, he would love the applicants for the Ham Family Scholarship, that list to grow and go on and on and on over the years. But they had a great list this year and a great winner as well. We've talked about this person on our show quite a bit, usually because it's, some sort of 20-point, 20 rebound game. The infamous, she had a contact fallout and still put up 20-20. I always say she goes beast mode. I've told you a lot about Rachel Hagen. You're going to finally get a chance to talk to her.
Yeah, this is going to be fun because I've met her dad and I've met her mom, and they talk about her a lot. I don't know if they talk about her as much as you do.
Right.
But now we'll finally get a chance to
I'm
talk
apparently
with
the
her.
Third parent. I'm like the fun uncle that just raves about her.
She probably agrees with that, just so you know.
Or she's really tired of hearing my voice, but she will for at least the next 10 minutes here today as well. Rachel Hagen, good morning. I'm so happy to have you. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. Now, this has been a big week for you because there was honors night. School's winding down. You are a senior. Graduation's right around the corner. But you had a big week basically late the week before thanks to that Zoom call with CJ Ham. First of all, congratulations on winning the scholarship. I asked CJ what the Zoom call was like from his perspective. He mentioned all kinds of excitement. What was it like for you? How unexpected and how thrilling was this?
It was really cool because I didn't even know CJ would and Steph would like be on the Zoom call. So it was really, I was shocked when I first got on there to see their faces, and it was just really cool to have them just tell me about the scholarship and tell why they picked me, and it was really cool.
It was pretty neat. I know you had your 18th birthday this week as well, and I just said to CJ, it had to be neat for an 18-year-old girl, although you were 17 that day, I think, to get a Zoom call from an NFL player. That just doesn't happen every day. We talked about,
Yes.
we did with CJ, we talked about your story, and I know it very well because I've been very lucky to have a front row seat for a lot of it. But your perseverance with injury and overcoming it and playing tremendous basketball despite, limitations from an injury or missing a lot of time due to an injury. I know all about that, but our listening audience doesn't. Tell your story in the best way you possibly can.
In the quick story, I tore my left ACL in 8th grade, so I only played one game in high school before high school, and spent 9 to 12 months recovering that. And then I came back for my freshman year, had a great season, and then the summer before my sophomore year, I tore the right one. So I went through 2 injuries, pretty close to each other, but then I got to play my junior and senior season without any injuries. So I've been really blessed. Even though I had to overcome those injuries, I've been really blessed. And obviously this scholarship means a lot to me because it's like huge for me because it's like a full circle moment. And Steph is a PT. And so she was talking about how I want to be a PT because I spent so much time in physical therapy. And
Right.
It's just really cool to connect on that.
So one of the things that when CJ was talking to us, he brought up some of the things that they were interested in you for. He talked about character. He talked about endurance. He talked about growing yourself. He talked about continuing to push forward and being a foundation setter. The one cool thing, Brian, that I took out of that was that Rach kind of sets the bar, right? From here forward.
No doubt.
From here forward, every winner is going to be like, okay, so where were they in relation? Rach, I'm wondering what CJ said to you. Like, did he mention those same things, or he and Steph mention those same things, or did they talk about some other things as well?
Yeah, definitely. They mentioned definitely my injuries really caught their eye because Steph's torn her ACL 4 times. So we kind of are very similar in the fact that the injuries helped us, want to grow our career in the field that we spent so much time in. And it was just, they really acknowledged what I went through and how I persevered and how I'm still playing and I'll be playing in college.
I want to talk about that because I really don't want Rachel Hagen to be labeled as, oh, that's the basketball player that tore both ACLs. I prefer, and I've had a front row seat for this too, to look at Rachel Hagen. That's a hell of a basketball player. I mean, you look at what you did, DNT, second team all area, heck of a rebounder, pretty good scorer. In fact, I'll say very good scorer. That's why even though everybody likes to call you Rodman, I don't, because Dennis Rodman didn't look to score. You do. What type of game do you feel you're bringing to Stevens Point? Because obviously that's where you're headed next. You got to be excited about that.
Oh, I'm super excited. I mean, I'm connecting with all the freshman girls of our class. We got a really good group. And first, I hope to bring my intensity on defense and rebounding first off. And hopefully, if I show that in practice, hopefully I'll be able to get some minutes even my freshman year and hopefully even score some. But I'm focusing on my defense and, playing with the big college girls is going to be a little bit harder, but I think getting stronger this whole summer, I should be there.
Now you're getting close to graduation, so it comes time to reflect on your prep career. Do you have a highlight from this season or even seasons past? I mean, big wins. You swept Hermantown. You beat Denfeld twice. Got a neat home win over Cloquet. Couple of winning seasons in a row that Duluth East, pre-Rich Wint struggled to get. You've played tremendous AAU ball. We talk about CJ Ham. There's another guy named CJ that's had a pretty big impact on you is CJ Osuchukwu. When you look back at your basketball prep career, what are the highlights that stand out for you?
For high school, it's really cool to be the first group of girls in 10 years to get a winning season at East. I think it shows the growth we've had in our program. And that starts with Ashlyn Gunther and I. And it was all the wins this year have been great. And last year, my junior season, obviously I love the 30-point game, 20 rebounds, lost my contact. That
Who
was
says
memorable.
you need to see to dominate? You don't need that.
That will always be memorable. Also, my 1,000-point game against Hermantown this year, obviously a really big moment for me. I never thought I would be anywhere near that milestone with my injuries, but to be able to get that goal was just really cool for me, and to have my name up there with a lot of the greats at East is really have my name near my AAU coach, Deami Starks, is really cool.
It definitely is. And that's why, again, I don't call you Rodman, because I don't think of, Dennis Rodman and scoring a bunch of points. He'll tell you he didn't think of it that way either. Is there an NBA or WNBA or collegiate player that you try to model yourself after or think your game is most similar to?
I mean, obviously I got to say Rodman because of my rebounding. I love to watch his highlights, his hustle plays. But lately, I've been watching a lot of Giannis in the NBA, just his athleticism. Obviously, nowhere near his athleticism, but trying to, copy the moves he makes in my basement, trying to move how he moves.
Yeah.
It's a great challenge, and I love watching him play.
No question about it. Now, speaking of women's basketball, and you'll be starting that career collegiately at Stevens Point, actually playing for a guy that I used to do play-by-play for, UMD Bulldog. Matt Hockett will be your coach at Stevens Point. But when you look at women's basketball and the growth of the game in general, with Paige Beckers, with what Caitlin Clark did this year, Gianna Neepkins is kind of the gold standard for Duluth natives right now. You have to love where women's basketball's gone and being not only on the map, but a big part of the map.
For sure. I mean, I love how this year, the national championship, Iowa and LSU, so many people watching that.
Right.
Huge championship. And, obviously, Gianna in this area and Grace Kirk and, Jordan Zupich up in MIB, they're really growing girls basketball in the Northland, which is really, really cool to see. Diami and CJ obviously working their butts off to get girls in the gym, girls developing their skills and trying to catch up with the kids in the cities. I think it's we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, but I'm loving the growth.
I completely agree with that. We are chatting with Rachel Hagen of Duluth East, the first ever CJ Ham Family Scholarship winner. I want to ask you about, you dropped a lot of names of great players, Ashlyn Gunther, Jordan Zubich, Sage Gagno, just committing to Bemidji State not too long ago. There are lots of great girls basketball players here. We're in the proverbial off season in terms of regular season high school games, but the off season, the summer is so important, and you've done such a great job with your AAU career. What's it like to play with so many stars? Because, you've been on teams where you've carried the load, and you've been on teams where everybody can carry the load. What's that AAU experience like?
Yeah, AAU is just a really cool experience because obviously I go from high school, which I got to score a certain amount of points, and then in AAU, my last year of AAU, I could score 0 points and we would be totally fine. If I get 10, 12 rebounds, totally fine. That's a good game for me. And it's weird mentally to go from scoring a lot to not, right. But I know my strengths and I know what I can give to that AAU team. So I definitely had a different role, but that's always fun too. And then we had a great group of girls. Everyone's so talented. So, I don't feel bad if I'm not scoring because my friend right here she's got us. So
I wonder, Rich, how that AAU experience you just brought up is going to impact you in college, because you're not going there to score as a freshman. Do you think that experience that you've had, not needing to be that, will actually help you get on the court maybe earlier?
Yeah, definitely. I know how to play different roles, so I think it'll help me not go in there thinking, obviously I wouldn't think this anyway, but going in there and thinking, yeah, I'm going to score as a freshman. I don't think that's my biggest strength, and I don't think that would be what I would be giving to the team this year or the next coming year. But definitely, what I did for AAU, lockdown defense and rebounding, if I play with a high motor, I think I had a good chance of getting at least some playing time.
Absolutely love your perspective on the game. Rach, that I could talk to you forever, and I'm very fortunate that this summer I probably still will, depending upon the time or place. But for radio's sake, this is my last question for you today. Now, you've talked to a lot of people that have had to persevere through injuries as well. East kids like Caitlin Kuklok and Will Van Scoy back when they had their problems as well. But what kind of words of advice would you give for anybody that's had to overcome injury or might be in the process of having to overcome injury? Because you've shown not only is it possible, but you can thrive afterwards as well.
I think just putting your best effort, especially if you have to do PT, you need to put all your effort into getting better in PT and doing stuff at home too, not just going to PT twice a week. Do the exercises at home. Try to do as much as you can so you get stronger. And then if you're really struggling mentally, I think journaling is one of the biggest ways to help you overcome that. And I journaled for about 300 days after my second surgery, and I think it really helped me, get my goals straight and reach them.
That is outstanding advice. I wish more kids like you existed in terms of work ethic and just mental attitude. It's been a joy to talk to you every time I get to. That'll do it for this segment. But again, I'm very lucky. I know I'll talk to you probably again later today. But thank you for the time and congratulations on the Ham Family Scholarship. Good luck at Stevens Point. We're bumping you out with a song called Missing You. There's no question Duluth East will miss you. I'll miss announcing for you, but I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for the time.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate Rachel Hagen. She is the first ever Ham Family Scholarship winner. She rounds out hour number 1. Hour 2 with Dave Hoops is next. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Hey guys, time to get in on the action for the biggest moments in basketball with Prize Picks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. Just select 2 or more players. Pick more or less on their projections, place your entry, and win up to 100 times your money. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit of up to $100. Just download the Prize Picks app and use the code GET100. That's code GET100 on Prize Picks for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more. Pick less. It's that easy.